Hey there, stars. It's Dear Younger Me, where we look back at the then and now. I'm your host, Megan Scott, and today we're kicking off with a viral topic that everyone is either still kicking through or, at the very least, remembers.
India's coronavirus
50% rise in the number of people who
drones.
died.
50% increase in the death toll.
Police scan the city in the alleys.
That's right, I'm talking about the coronavirus. I know you're tired of hearing about it, and it's probably the last thing you want to listen to about in a podcast. Believe me, I agree with you, but it's the biggest thing right now. And as you can guess with the theme of this show, I am a firm believer in giving myself content to, let's just say, reminisce upon. The date is March 12th. I get off work as a licensing intern for Original Retro Brand, a vintage t-shirt company. And while I love my job, I am incredibly tired. Spring break for my school was the week before, and we were all just begging for another break. Just a few more days. Everybody else has their spring break this week. I sit outside our college radio station, prepping for the very first episode of my new solo radio show, Love Affair with Life. Thursdays, the last show of the night, 9 to 10 p.m. But by the time I finish, campus is closed, and I feel underwhelmed with my performance. I had been advertising and promoting the launch for a week, and felt that I hadn't lived up to my own hype. I was messy, awkward, and I couldn't figure out the board. But the show is about loving yourself and your mistakes. So, don't worry, I told myself to feel better. There's always next week.
March 20th, 2018. Dear future self, I'm all sorts of f***ed up right now.
That's me at about age 18, or at least an impersonation of what I would have sounded like at the time of that diary entry.
So last night I got the letter from Sarah that I didn't get the Teaching Fellow Scholarship. I worked my ass off for that scholarship, 110%, if not more. I was trying to be optimistic about it. You know, just come to terms with the fact that I did everything I could. I did my best, but someone was better. Or qualified. Because that's how it should work, right? Guess not. I walk up in a school.
At this part, I go into a rant about two guys in my teacher cadet class that got the scholarship when myself and none of the other girls who worked really hard got it. We were mad.
I'm pissed as hell because I know I deserved it more. Because of this, there's actually a chance I might not get to go to Lander next year. I was riding on this scholarship, but it was so much more than the money to me. It was hours of building my application, days of planning, months of stressing over the interview. All the time I dedicated to my kids, making sure that they loved coming to school, making sure I was actually a good teacher.
I've always loved school. Really. School was always something I was good at. I loved the diverse environment. I loved learning something new every day. And even though it does get tiring sometimes, being in school is always something I counted on being there. Summer, fall, winter, and spring break would always be the same amount of time. And nothing would ever change, besides my classes and the expected coming and going of people. I mean, friends graduate and leave, and it sucked, but I was always ready to prepare for it because I always knew exactly when it would come. It was a safe adventure, always. If you couldn't tell by the name of that scholarship, before I was a communications major, I was positive that I was going to be a teacher. That's how much I loved school. My die-hard plan was to stay in a school setting until I was forced to retire. What I could never prepare for was the hit I would take when it was suddenly stolen. March 13th, 2020. The Friday morning after my show launch. I was still tired and frankly, still kind of upset with myself. I only had 2 classes and I woke up to the discovery that they had both been canceled. I remember being so grateful. One was optional, an opportunity to workshop and finish up a project for my podcasting class. But I had already finished that project the day before. I just needed a refresh. The weekend to get myself back on track. Then, for sure, I would be ready to bring my A game on Monday. I just needed a weekend. I was with my sister and her roommate in the cafeteria. I had a Starbucks spinach wrap in front of me, but I wasn't busy and I wasn't low on meal swipes, so why not hang out? The caf was in between meal times, so it was relatively empty. Therefore, even as we sat at the table together, it felt incredibly lonely and surreal as we got the email. Beginning Monday, March 16th, Lando will move to online instruction for undergraduate and graduate students until further notice. I remember the scattered, quiet gasps and words of disbelief from the other caf dwellers around us. Panic set in as everybody started to get up to leave and pack their things. I remember leaving the cafeteria, but if I'm being honest, I don't quite remember the hours after that. I don't think I would ever be able to properly summarize everything that I had to leave when we drove away from campus that day. Thursday would be the last day that I went into work. The last day that I was on air. The last day I saw most of my friends. But Friday is probably one of my biggest regrets that I have, not showing up to that class. It would be the last time I saw my favorite professor as my professor. It was his last semester at school. I saw him at the launch for our annual film festival. We were all super excited for that, but that ended up being lost too, along with countless other projects, outings, and events that we had planned. Dear younger me, I know you're hurt and worried right now. Things didn't go to plan, despite all of the work you put into it. I remember the hours slaved away to mold your future exactly how you wanted it. And I remember the feeling of disappointment, of it not paying off in the way you thought it would. However, I'm happy to announce that you did get to go to Lander, despite not getting the scholarship. And that, surprise, you ended up finding that you didn't want to teach anyway. We have changed our major and are in a completely new setting. And you feel good enough to be where you're at. I guess we never get to an age where everything goes according to plan. Maybe everything blows up. Maybe everything blows up when we get comfortable. Because we should never be complacent with comfortable. Yeah, maybe it sucks, but maybe that's okay. With self-love, future you. Dear Younger Me wants to give a big thank you to our sponsors, the Pod Class with Paul Crutcher, as well as our main sponsor, XLR Lander University Radio. Without you, we wouldn't be here. Be sure to tune in to the next episode, Social Distancing for the Social, where I'll be discussing how quarantine and being sent home has had its impact on my personal relationships. Maybe you'll find something you relate to, and if that's the case, feel free to sign up to be a part of the community. You'll get alerts for new content and new episodes. This is going to be a 3-episode series, so I'm so happy you stuck around for the first one, and I hope you'll continue to do so for the other 2. Who knows? Maybe we'll keep this thing going. Till next time. Bye.